Hi, I'm Vix Rodwell, Director of Membership at IPSE, and today we are here with Vicky from Happy Freelancers doing a Fireside chat.
Hi, I'm Vicky of Happy Freelancers. I run a community of freelancers and founders, and we're all centred on health and happiness over the hustle. So we put on co-working events and holidays and activities to get freelancers and founders better connected.
So what's one thing you love about being self-employed?
Okay, so for me, it's definitely the freedom and flexibility to plan my days and weeks and just life in general exactly how I want it. I think that's probably the thing that most people in my community say as well, just to be able to do whatever they want when they want feels really nice.
Yeah,
definitely.
So if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, having learned everything you've learned in the last few years, what would that be?
I would say just to be a bit more bold and willing to give things a go and not worry too much about the outcome.
Yep.
So I think at the start I was very fixated on will this work? Is this the right thing to do? And in reality, there's no real right thing to do. And I think we're all just kind of guessing or educated guessing along the way and having a go and trying and failing and trying again. So I think I wish I'd kind of come into this with a bit more boldness initially, just to go for it, basically. Yeah.
Perfect. So what's one of the things you find most challenging about working for yourself?
Okay, so firstly, there's many things, but probably the number one thing is solo decision making.
Okay.
So I have a tendency, and it's something that I'm working through, of just overthinking, and I think it's really hard when you're a team of one to just make the decision sometimes, and that's why I think it's really good to have people around you that are fellow freelancers and founders that are they understand your business a bit and they can guide you.
They give you the eyebrow raise if it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, totally. They're or they just ask questions that prompt you to think a bit more deeply about, this move that you're going to make, for example.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so invaluable to have these people around you that can, just help you along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you've built your current business with the mantra of health and happiness over the hustle, which is quite short and snappy, and I like it.
Thank you.
And having spoken to you, obviously that came about through suffering burnout.
Yeah.
So how is it that you used to operate, and what was it that sort of helped you identify that it's not really how you want to work, and has kind of transitioned you to where you are now?
Yes. So my background is that I was freelancing in digital marketing for 10 plus years. When I first started out, I just worked very in isolation. So while I was taking contracts or projects with different companies, as a freelancer, I felt very isolated, and I didn't really be proactive about going out to find people that could help me. That was just my experience at the time, and it was really difficult because I would end up in Google rabbit holes of just how to set up a limited company, how to file your tax return, all this practical stuff, or even actually how to set your day rate. Things like this that aren't really you can get the answers from Google, but sometimes it just sends you into a spiral, right? So that was already difficult and challenging. It took me a while to be right, I need to go and find some other self-employed people, because actually at that time in my life, no one in my friendship group or family was self-employed, so it was a very alien world for me.
Big step then to do it.
Huge step. Oh God, they all thought I was crazy as well. They were all very worried for me, because it wasn't their thing. So when I did eventually think, right, I need to go and find my tribe, everything was so much better, because obviously I had people to lean on for advice and support. But in that kind of period where it was just me for a really long time, I suffered a lot with anxiety. I was very stressed. I slipped into a really bad pattern of overworking. I think because I didn't have that sort of group around me to say, hey, this is actually really normal, or this is how it works, or whatever. So my health actually really suffered. So mentally that was challenging, also physically. And I think this is the thing with burnout, is that it does present as physical symptoms as well. So I was getting a lot of migraines, I had terrible skin, I'd have headaches every day, not sleeping well. I think all of these are quite common things that people actually experience, but our bodies always tell us when they're stressed, and unfortunately it took me really
ignoring it though, aren't we?
I was so good at I was ignoring it all. I just thought it was very normal. And what I know now, of course, from living and working a completely different way, is that like that's really not normal at all. I'm rarely sick now. Like my mood is so much better, and that's because I've consciously like designed a life that allows me to be happier and healthier. So like there's a lot more movement in my day, a lot more like just taking breaks, like staying hydrated, like lots of basics that we actually can forget when we're very
feeling like you've got to be pinned to that desk.
Oh my god, and I definitely, like, for the first couple of years I thought like I need to be at my laptop all the time, like, because my friends were in their 9-to-5 jobs. I would constantly be like, oh well, who am I to go out at 3 p.m. in the middle of the day when they're all at the office working. And this was, you know, like a pre-COVID time before flexible working was really a thing, and so it felt very different to the way that a lot of society
it's like guilt away, isn't it? If I'm not physically sat at a desk doing stuff, then I'm not working, I'm not succeeding. And,
exactly. And in reality, I think you can actually just waste a lot of time by sitting there. Like, actually, sometimes it's better just to be like, right, I'm going to relax, I'm going to look after myself, because that is actually really, really important in how I show up in the world, can then function in my business or just as a human in general. And actually, when you spend time to make yourself happy and healthy, like, your energy is higher, you get better opportunities, right? You're a better person.
Productivity is better as well. Productivity, everybody works at different times as well, and in different environments, and you know, it is a very sort of the office environment is very fixed, and for some people it works fantastically well, but for actually a lot of others, they need to like go walk the dog and then sit down for an hour, and actually that hour they'll be so productive, more than if they'd sat at that desk for 7 hours.
Totally. And I definitely found that as well, where I would take like little breaks to go for walks, or I actually used to go down to my gym and sit in the cafe, and I was like, I'll do a bit of work here, then I can go and take that class, and then I'll do a bit more, then I can go for a swim. And like, first of all, what a lovely day. And second of all, my productivity, like you said, went through the roof, because I had these short bursts at my laptop, and I was like very focused then when I was working. So anyway, I found this whole different way of working that was much better for me. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do with my community, is to say, like, don't sit at home by yourself for like long stretches of time. Like, you know, you need to interact with other humans, and, you know, it's important. It's important.
And was there like a particular day where all of a sudden you had this light bulb moment, or was it sort of niggling, and then you were just like, do you know what, look, I've got to make that change?
It was like a really gradual process. It like niggled, and I think I gradually became more and more comfortable with like operating in a way that suited me better, without the guilt around it. So it was kind of like that, but then also actually 2 years ago I did a work and travel experience, and that really kind of like blasted that kind of theory like wide open, because all of a sudden, you know, I had total freedom and all these amazing activities and experiences to do on my doorstep that I obviously wanted to do while I was in Costa Rica. I don't want to be like on my laptop 24/7. But it forced me to work so quickly, productively. I was really creative because I was in nature all the time. So
which
all of
again is hugely important for mental health, isn't it? Like, apparently looking at green and blues, like, it's so good for your brain.
So good. Like, they've been proven to like relax us and put us into like flow states as well. So it was one of these things where, you know, it's like different reading the science, and then when you actually go and experience it, you're like, oh yeah, this actually does work.
It makes sense.
And it makes sense, and oh my god, this is amazing. So that actually kind of led me on to running these co-working holidays for happy freelancers, because I experienced how much it boosted my creativity and everything, and like it just helped me get all the new ideas and everything. I was like, I need to take people away so they can have an experience like this, where they can just kind of experience this magic of like being away from home in a new environment and being inspired again.
I think there's a lot in that, isn't it? You change your environment completely, and your brain all of a sudden has that space. It's like people having ideas in the shower, isn't it?
You
switch your brain exactly into some slightly different, not your everyday routine. And often people do have that moment or that idea that they're then like, oh, I knew there was something, and then
it's
they
just
can
like
lean into it a little bit.
Exactly. I saw Sharmadean Reed speak once, and she's like my absolute business idol. I love her, and I she was talking about her best piece of business advice. And at the time, I didn't understand what she was saying, but now I fully understand it now. She said, walk everywhere and be inspired by everything around you. And I thought that was like really a strange thing to say as someone that runs a tech company, like beauty business, all of this stuff. But now I completely get it, because it's like how creativity flows when you're like not in a box and you're looking and seeing.
Enjoying life.
And enjoying life, exactly. And let's be honest, like, yes, freelancing and founder life is hard, but ultimately I think we're doing it so that we can enjoy our lives more, so that we've created something that works for us.
So you've got what a lot of people are currently describing as a portfolio career, because you've got your mentoring, you've got your matchmaking service, obviously you've got the Happy Freelancers community. How important do you think it is for freelancers to try and establish multiple revenue streams to kind of, live a happy and fruitful life?
Very important. And I think it's a crucial step from moving from, I think, solely being a freelancer and stepping more into a founder and creating a company or agency. So I was freelancing, like just doing client retainer work and projects and contracts, which worked really fine. I earned well out of it. And it was great. I'd have periods of working and then not working, and it was all good. But since moving away from client work, and I really wanted to do that and make Happy Freelancers work as a community, I knew I needed to establish a couple of different revenue streams while I built the community up. So the mentoring, that's like one-to-one advice and guidance for people at any stage of their journey, and the talent match service is like a recruitment arm of the business, placing freelancers into roles, and that is like probably 80% of my business. So for me, it like eases like the kind of financial pressure, let's say, like I know then my life is covered. Do you know what I mean? The bills are paid. Like it's just such a reassurance to have that running in the background.
Definitely.
And it's really then been able to free me up to focus my time and energy on putting on great events for my community, and also I think importantly to be able to show up well for those events, to host and be relaxed and carefree and like set a nice vibe for people.
Yeah, absolutely. It all stems from you at the end of the day.
Definitely,
doesn't it? You've got to be your mantra and your business.
Totally. I don't want to show up being grumpy. Can you imagine? Happy Freelancers, there she is, that grumpy girl. And I see this quite often in my community, where people are wanting to move away from their client work. They're thinking like, what's next? They're up for a new challenge, and they've got maybe this like idea that they're really passionate about. But, it is a lot to just start something from fresh. And my advice always to them is like, dial down your client work, free up a bit of time so that you can have some time and energy, test this idea, because you probably won't get it right first time.
No, absolutely.
I didn't. I'm still learning.
Like it, or it can be intermittent as well sometimes. And I think again that's one of the advantages is, if you have a dry patch in one area but the other one's still fine, then over that whole 12-month period you're probably fantastic. And it isn't that kind of feast or famine, which can be quite stressful.
Very stressful, And I've also found like a lot of my events are like quite seasonal. So like winter, for example, I really struggled to get people out co-working. Everyone just wanted to stay at home. Fair enough, the weather was terrible. So like Jan and Feb was difficult for events. So like if I wasn't mentoring in that period or didn't have talent match running in the background, I would just really struggle.
And actually mentoring is a fantastic time of year, like January, February, because people are like, right, new year, new start. I need help and advice and guidance. So actually, that can work quite well. That sort of different bits are in their prime, I guess, at different times of the year.
And I think it's only through going through a cycle of a year when I'm starting to now see patterns and like where people want to buy experiences. So like you say, mentoring, Jan and Feb, September, October is another good time.
It is, get back from the summer holidays.
Back to school.
Exactly.
Why do we still have that back to school?
I think it's because
mindset.
I know, it was ingrained, wasn't it?
And then like, having the holidays at like missing summer basically, but having them bookmarking summer. So I've learned a lot like that, but that's always my advice to people, like starting something new, just have something running in the background that you can pull on.
So how do you balance dedicating time to Happy Freelancers and sort of, also keeping that mantra of having time for life, you know, I imagine it's quite tricky sometimes taking that balance of not having the hustle and just, you know, embracing the joy of life, but also running a community is quite hard work. So how do you get that balance?
I guess with difficulty or work with like very conscious effort is probably the real answer. So yes, I think because I'm a very like passionate, ambitious, driven person, like I can have that tendency to put my all into everything and like work. But obviously I've been there and done that in the past, and I know it ain't pretty. So we've learned from the mistakes. So if it ever is getting a bit worky like that, I know that's my time to pause and reset. And I think, you know, I speak to a lot of people in my community that they find it hard to do that off switch. I think that's quite normal for all of us, but I think just through like doing it enough times and knowing that the more time I take for rest and like play, as I call it, but really that's just activities that you love to do and enjoy. So for some people it's singing, for me it's dancing, like boxing, like whatever lights you up. Lots of girls in my community are like really crafty and they like spend time doing that. And I think, you know, it's important because it takes your mind away obviously from work, and as we were talking about earlier, you need these like brain breaks to like reset and be creative again. And so they're important. So I think it's actually reframing it as like, this is productive time, really. Time away from the laptop, time away from my business is productive time. And I think once you adopt that mindset, or certainly when I did, that just really like enabled me to be like, no, I don't need to fill my schedule with work. And in fact, it's actually counterproductive for me to do that.
Do you have like a post-it note somewhere that just sort of reminds you to take a breath, or have you just built in mechanisms now that you feel like you've hit and something kicks in to remind you to chill? And
I think, you know, what a really good hack is for me is that like I schedule a lot of things in my diary. So like my fun activities that I do, they are at like classes in the middle of the day, for example. So I'm like, if I've booked it, I'm not going to miss it. So it's always like fixed, and you know I get so much joy from it, so I make the effort to go. So, but definitely in the past I would be kind of that person that would book things and it would get near the time and I think, oh well, so and so's just asked me for that now, and maybe I should get that proposal out now, and I would miss the thing. And now I'm like, nothing's that urgent, it can wait. You know, obviously, like act professionally, don't let people down. But in reality, like, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be quick and turn things around fast. And actually, like, we don't need to operate like that. It's stressful.
I mean, I suppose before the internet, things moved a lot slower.
Oh my God,
People used to physically post stuff.
The pigeon.
Exactly.
So.
Whereas I suppose now it is like, there's an article the other day about, is it presenteeism, if that's how you say it, and how people feel like they've just got to be seen all the time, and it's not healthy for people. I mean, obviously, like you said, you've got responsibilities and you have to be accountable and show up, and especially if somebody's paying you for a piece of work, then you've got to deliver it. But it's kind of, they want the best out of you in the same way you need the best out of you. So it's how you find what those triggers are.
And I just try and, like, now because I've been through that and I'm very good at making time for myself and I see other people really struggle with that, I just like to be a reminder to people to be like, hey, it's okay for you to take a break. Or like the other day, it was so sunny in Brighton and we've had a rubbish summer so far, and I just put something out there, which is probably, some people might think this is silly advice, but I just thought, I'm just going to give people permission. Like, if you guys, it's really sunny today, if you don't have deadlines, just take the afternoon off and enjoy yourself. And sometimes you need someone to like say, oh, that's all right, actually, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So you organise quite a lot of sort of work and play retreats for people as part of your community. So now you've run a few, what are the kind of the key benefits that you've seen really come out of getting like-minded people together and encouraging them to do sort of both work and play in a completely different environment?
Yeah, it's incredible really what happens on these weeks away, because first of all, everyone pretty much arrives solo, so they're immediately, like you say, they are away with like-minded people, but everyone in the room has had obviously different experiences, backgrounds. They run all kinds of businesses, so we have everything from like creative types that are like maybe building an agency to like people just starting out, and like health and wellness people and all kinds of like events people. So there's an amazing mix of people away, and I actually think that's like probably my favourite thing about it, is that like it puts you into contact and deep connection really with people that are outside of your industry, and they are the best people to ask you really like reflective questions about your business. So the conversation is always so interesting. Like we just talk for hours and hours and hours, and you can imagine over breakfast, while we're hiking, dinner, and you just the inspiration goes like off the charts. So I know people always come away like feeling so inspired, like they've got some new ideas, downloads, like sudden clarity on like what to do or try when they get home. And then kind of as we were talking about before, like you are really immersed in nature and all of these experiences. So we just came back from Madeira in June. It's like lovely, stunning scenery, it's beautiful, and you know, so it has that kind of calming, relaxing effect on you. And where we do very short bursts of co-working, because let's be honest, we want to enjoy the place.
But I think chatting as well, like you're saying, it's amazing what can come of like going on a walk or or whatever. And if you've got stuff that's playing in your brain, to actually sense that with somebody and chat it through, or like you said, them ask good questions. That, you know, again, it doesn't have to be physically sat at a desk to be going through that sort of strategic process.
And for example, there was an amazing woman that came on retreat in Madeira, and she has a Facebook ads agency, and she's very young and has obviously done extremely well. And I was just so inspired being around her, and you know, she just gave me so much good insight about like finding a business partner, getting funding, just someone to chat really casually about how to do all of this with. And you realise that actually like everyone is just figuring it out. Like there's no like, do you know what I mean? She was the most down to earth woman. She was just like, I tried this, I tried that, and it made me really think, oh yeah, maybe I could do that. And I think that's a really good thing about when everyone's relaxed and they're just
being truthful
and being truthful and honest.
I mean, some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know will literally go, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, and they're like, shh. It's true. I think the more honest people are, because you know it's easy to project success and that everything's going right, but for most people they are winging it, and they're hoping and they're trying, and like we were saying, things change as well, so you could be onto something really good, but then you've got to pivot because the world blows up or whatever it might be. No, I know we can't go through another pandemic, but I think again, like, take your inspiration, I guess, where you can find it, and you know, there's nothing better than meeting interesting people.
And obviously you just get to connect on a deeper level than you would do at a co-working event or playing volleyball, as we do.
I'm sure lifelong friendships are probably
they
as
are,
well,
and like we have all these group WhatsApps, and they're always going off, and then people will say like, oh my god, Charlotte, I've just seen you launch this, congratulations, it looks really well. So people are really like cheerleading for each other as well afterwards, which is so nice. And I just wanted to say one more thing on this point, that like, I think when you go away and you're outside your usual environment, I think it's just a good pause moment to just reflect on like life goals, really. And like for me anyway, like just sitting by the sea, being somewhere new, it always makes me think a bit more deeply about like life and like what I'm creating my lifestyle to be. And so often there's like moments where we come away thinking, actually, I don't really want to do that thing that I was trying to do, so I actually don't really enjoy it. And I'd rather spend my time and energy building this, or actually this other goal that has nothing to do with work is very important to me, and I'm going to make more time for that. So
it also doesn't have to be forever as well. Like if you're trying to make a decision about something, it could be that you just do it for a couple of years, and then again you reassess. And again, I think people struggle with, like, we were brought up that you get one job and you get it for life, which, you know, isn't the case for most people. And I think even more now, so many people are embracing the fact that, you know, I do a year at that, and then I can go and do a year at that, and just learn and you know, be and hopefully happy. And
we don't have to be in like boxes, like just because we're like a marketeer, that doesn't mean, like, for example, I teach dance as well. That's got literally nothing to do with Happy Freelancers, but it's a big passion of mine. So, you know, and I'm a spin instructor, again, nothing to do with Happy Freelancers, but it's like, I'm like a multi-passionate person. Why can't I earn money in lots of different ways? And I don't have to just be one thing. And I think this is the beauty of like living a happy and fulfilling life, just allowing all sides of you to exist, you know?
No, definitely. So for anyone out there that, you know, having listened to this and have kind of identified that, yeah, I'm just not happy, and I think I probably need to make a change, what piece of advice would you give to somebody that's kind of wrestling with those questions in their head?
Yeah, okay, so there's like a lot of different elements to happiness, and I think, you know, we're very often focused on like the social connection aspect, which is really important, like making sure you're emotionally and mentally healthy, but there's things that people forget that are actually really core components of happiness, and it's things like your environment, like your physical setting. So even just like, for me, my flat is quite dark and small, so like, why would I spend a lot of time there? Like, I need to be out in big open spaces. So little switches like that. You can also like lean a lot more into, like, I would say, just get curious about like what brings you joy and makes you feel happy. I think sometimes we are quite disconnected from that, and we just think we need to persist with like what we've learned so far to date and the skills that we have, which obviously is like very helpful in earning money. But actually, if there's something that you really want to do that feels a bit left field, give yourself permission to explore it. So maybe like do it alongside the thing that is your bread and butter and you can do easily without much thought. Well, you know,
within reason.
Within reason.
But it's trying, isn't it?
It's trying, but give yourself permission to try to do something different and explore and test.
And I suppose it's not necessarily failure, because again, people get very hung up on, oh, I tried it and I failed, but it's probably more of a failure to never try.
Oh my gosh,
and to live with that what if.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it doesn't work, you know, great. Well, not great, but you've probably learned something from it, and you know, you can kind of draw that line under it. And you know, I think as long as you're able to still, you know, be responsible, pay bills or whatever, eat, still have some money to have life, then it's kind of trying to work your way through it.
And I think, like, just from my experience, like I've had my most, like, personally and professionally happiest, most fulfilled year. It's been the most challenging year, but I've loved the challenge. Also, like, my bank account hasn't been the highest it's ever been. Like, I've definitely earned loads more money in the past, but like, actually, like, my true marker of success right now is my peace and happiness. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and everyone will be different, but for me, that is,
I think that's it, isn't it? It's trying to work out for you. What is it for you? Because everybody is completely different.
Exactly.
But they're hard questions to answer, aren't they?
They are, a lot of introspection.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Vicky, for coming today. It's been really interesting. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. And for those that have been tuning in, I'm sure there's loads of great tips and advice that they can take away and implement into their life.
Thank you so much for having me. I really hope that people got some value from the conversation, and just follow along the line. We'd love to have more people as part of the community. So thank you.